My name is Inderjit Singh JG, and the date is 29th of January. I was about 54. I was working for a British multinational. I was a marketing executive. On the date Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated, I was traveling from my village Chudal Kala to Chandigarh, and I got this information about her assassination at close to a place called Samana. People were flocked on the road. They were assembling on the road. Then the whispers are going on that something has happened, and they realize that Mrs. Gandhi has been shot. Violence came little later, about 2 days later. You heard about violence. I was in Chandigarh when the news spread that violence is taking place in Delhi, and they have started massacring the Sikhs. Reaction, I think, of all the Sikhs was the same. Things were boiling up before Mrs. Gandhi's assassination. Talks were going on for a federal structure, and there were a lot of blockades like Jans Roko, stop the grain going out of Punjab, and block the water going into the other states, because all these things belong to Punjab. So, simmerings were going on, trouble was brewing. But no one thought of Khalistan at that stage. So when Mrs. Gandhi was killed, the message was sent, there's the Khalistanis who had done it. And once a massacre started, then the community got divided to clear this thing. Sikhs were on one side and the Hindus were on the other side. Hindus were subdued in Punjab, they wouldn't say, the Sikhs would say openly. Outside Punjab, the Hindus were more expressive against the Sikhs, and Sikhs were on the defensive. So things had started moving up then. And when the massacre started, it all became very clear. I come to the village a number of times. I resigned in March, end of March 84. So I had about 3-4 months to observe what was happening. I was new to the political field in Punjab, but I did have friends at places which mattered. For instance, Sant Harchand Singh Longowal had stood as for MLA's place from our constituency, and we'd help him. He was drawing crowds for his rally from villages from our side. And then Toda was a very well-known person. He had been in my father's party, the Praja Mandal, in the good old days. From there he moved over. I think he was a Pracharak, but he was a Ragi. From there he developed he became the SGPC chairman, and he was the central figure at that time, apart from Sant Harchand Singh and Prakash Singh Badal. So things were moving, and the farmers were agitating. We knew something was to happen. Either they concede or something would have to happen. There was a short break. Rajiv Gandhi was not here in Delhi, he was away. And I believe a message was sent to him. And from what I hear, he encouraged the riots. And it was his statement which said, when the riots took place, to justify that jab bada pet girta hai, to dharti hilti hai. So he justified the riots on that basis. But what happened in riots was, people were butchered all over Delhi. Police was inactive, army was not allowed to come in, and there was general panic all over. I was on the way from my village, Chudal Klan district, Sangrur, to Chandigarh. That time I was close to Samana, and the crowds were on the road, so I checked up to find out what had happened. And that is where I learned that something very serious had happened, and they say, it is said that Mrs. Gandhi was killed, or she was definitely shot, and they were waiting for the message for confirmation. But that time it was all hush-hush. In a few minutes' time we knew that she had been killed, and people had started coming onto the road. No, violence did not take place immediately. Violence took place about 2 days later. The violence in Punjab, there was no violence, incidentally. Punjab was absolutely violence-free. The violence took place in Delhi and Haryana and in some of the Congress-led states. It took place in Kanpur, it took place in some places in Bihar. It did not take place in Bengal because Jyoti Basu was a communist government. It didn't take place at those places, only the Congress-led states the violence took place. That time I was home at the village when this started. Army had started coming in. Army had moved in. And it was said that they were going to attack Darbar Sahib. So there was no movement. Punjab was all pinned down when the attack started. So we heard that it has started in Amritsar. We heard that the attack had started at Dukh Nivaran Sahib, at a number of places. The attack was at a number of Gurdwaras. So we were pinned down at the village. There was nothing that we could do. We were all worried what to do. How can we help in that? And how can we organize jathas to go? And that is what was in the mind of everyone. So we were organizing people to go, but at that time, we were not allowed to stir out of our village. So all activity came to a dead end. Amritsar, for the defense of Darbar Sahib. Darbar Sahib was in every Sikh's mind. They all wanted to rush to Darbar Sahib to prevent the attack on it. Jatha was led by my brother. The first Jatha was led by my brother, who had just retired as Deputy Inspector General Police. And he led the first Jatha from our village. Incidentally, he was also posted a little while earlier as SSP Amritsar. So he was going to lead a Jatha, which he did lead, and he was arrested. I think this must have been around 10 to 15 days after the attack. See, we were anticipating trouble. That is one reason why I resigned my job and came over. We were anticipating trouble, and we did not realize they'll take such a drastic step as to attack Darbar Sahib. But it was obvious they were worried by the fact that in the Sikhs, politics and religion are inseparable. And they were talking earlier, how can they separate politics from religion in the Sikh faith? And I think that is the time when they decided that Akal Takht must be destroyed. But it affected in the sense that I resigned my job and came home. And I wanted to work for the interests of Punjab. And what was Punjab trusting about was known to everyone. It was being discriminated in almost all the spheres of social activity. There was lesser people taken into the army, your water was being pilfered, your wheat was being underpriced, your land was being covered. There were so many things that are happening to Punjab. That is where, even at that stage, the reason why that agitation of the Sikhs became so powerful was the fact that entire peasantry was upset with the government. Violence was brewing in Punjab, but it happened that it was ignited by Operation Blue Star. Number one, the most important thing, at the time of independence, federal rights were granted to the were to be given to the states, and Congress had promised that all the states would be autonomous. When it came to distributing power, they didn't even give them enough federal powers. They gave them quasi-federal power. The things were brewing since then. So they're brewing all over the states. They started brewing in other states. They're brewing in Bengal. They were brewing in Orissa. They were brewing in the southern states. They were brewing in the eastern hill states. They were brewing all over. And I think what they thought was that if they clamp it, and they said that Punjab was wanting to secede, all the Indians would get together to prevent that. And that is exactly what Mrs. Gandhi did. she attacked, and even Vajpayee ji, who is now BJP so vociferous about condemning it, they were silent. And I think, if I remember, I may be wrong, he even mentioned Indira Gandhi as the Durga for having attacked Darbar Sahib. So you see, they had two things. One, the Hindus had a Hindu state in mind. And the rest of the states, the Hindu-Hindi state, not Hindu state, Hindu-Hindi state in mind. The rest of the states who were not Hindi-speaking wanted to break away. Then there was a communal angle to that. Most of the non-Hindi speaking states were supporting the Punjab demand. In fact, they were guiding Punjab to set up a demand for itself, which was called the Anandpur Resolution. This itself was drafted by Jyoti Basu and Harkishan Singh Siji, the two communists. But it had backing of all the other states like Orissa and North Bengal and the eastern states. It's this thing which was worrying the center at that stage. And that's why they thought if they could divert it into a communal problem, maybe they'll get the support of the rest of India with it. The moment they said that they want Khalistan, they want total secession, and that people rallied around them. Because after Operation Blue Star and the killing of Mrs. Gandhi, Congress got the number of votes it had never got before. So they succeeded in that. You just cannot put the lid on it. There are people who lost dear ones. There should be accountability. And till accountability is gone, people are going to agitate. Once there's accountability, they'll simmer down. Well, I'll tell you to what extent we were agitated. You see, we were agitated both as a Sikh and as a human being. As a Sikh, Sikhs were killing and they had attacked our most religious place. And we knew that they were trying to push down the Sikhs. So my father, who was at that time crossed 92 and had been a very active reformer, he started the Praja Mandal movement in Punjab, and he has supported the Sikhs from Singh Sabha movement to Akali movement to all the movements that came in. And he had headed the Praja Mandal along with Sasewa Singh Tikriwala and was a close alliance of that. You see, at that age, he couldn't do anything. He was 93. So he withdrew into himself. He stopped talking. He talked very little after that. And he lasted just 3 months before he died. You know, for an active man, not to do something, anything like that, must have been very difficult for him. And it's not he who died. Many old people died like that. They were helpless, they couldn't do anything. So they succumbed. And for a person like me, we were seeing how to prevent this. And after my father died, he died in November. This was October. This happened in October. He passed away in November. 3 months. This happened in October, or this happened a little before that. Blue Star was it? June. He died 3 months later. And the first spoke we had, we started it by starting Amrit Prachar. We said the number of people they killed, we will add up more to the Sikh cause. At that time, it was not only that, the religious sentiment was strong. And I'm happy to say that not only Sikh families, but a large number of Hindu families converted into Sikhism. We used to have it every year. After my father died, every year we had it. And at one stage, we were even thinking of doing it every month. So we were able to add up new recruits to Sikhism, or convert people into Sikhism, but that was tempered at that stage. My wife was posted, she was with the Planning Commission, she was in the Indian Administrative Service, posted to the Planning Commission at Delhi. And she was in Delhi, and we were worried what happened to her and my children. So we were advised not to go back. And she rang up, she said, they had done their own arrangements. He said, till things simmer down, don't come back, which was a wise decision, because they were killing Sikhs on the way. And they were not even taking count. The police was inactive, totally inactive. Army was not allowed to come in. So the Congress chap had a free hand, absolutely free hand in killing the Sikhs. So that worry was there. And there are a lot of things I like to add, because we started our work from there. We started our human rights work from there, because we said all the illegal killings that were taking place, they need accountability. They need recompense. So we started working from that. Though immediately after Operation Blue Star, there was a gap of a few months, and then Sant Harchand Singh Longowal had come to an understanding with the Congress. And the understanding he came out was that there was something which was called the secret clause between Rajiv Gandhi and Sant Longowal. Otherwise, the rest of the agreement was not very good. Sikhs didn't like it. And Sikhs objected to Sant Longowal's patching up the differences between Congress and the Akalis. But he kept on saying, there is a secret clause. You wait till the secret clause has come out, and then you won't blame me. I think he said it too often, and he was killed. He was killed perhaps to put a lid on the secret clause knowledge which he was spreading. Sant was keen that I contest the elections over there. And while he was alive, he had promised me, he said, you work in that area. That was after Operation Blue Star, after he saw the work we were doing. He said, your father has done so much, and you started doing that. You take it that when the elections take place, you will be the candidate from here. So after Santaji was killed, and that again has never been investigated. In fact, it was so bad that the Director General Police who came was removed after Sanchi was killed. And the reason for removing him was he would have caught the culprits who killed him. They removed him, and they brought Rivero and KPS into the field. So they tried to put a lid. They did away with Sant just for the simple reason to close this thing on the secret clause. Now, in that secret clause, there was another party called Sir Balwant Singh, who was a finance minister. Barnala and Balwant Singh were together. Balwant Singh was in the knowledge because he used to negotiate when Sanji went. He also started threatening that I know what has been going on and I will tell. He too was killed by the police. And he was killed by a person attached to the governor, Punjab. And that bodyguard of the governor disappeared for months. When things became quiet, he came back and joined duty. And that's the end of Sir Balwant Singh's life, and there was no investigation after that. So two things need to be investigated. Sant Harchand Singh Longowal and Sir Balwant Singh's murders. So after that, there were elections and we won. Sanji had died just before the elections, and Barnala came up in that. Barnala, Sant and Balwant Singh were together. So Sant died, Barnala and Balwant Singh teamed up. Captain Inderjit Singh, all six were disturbed then. He resigned the Congress, he came over, and they formed a team, the three of them. Badal, who used to be the chief minister earlier, was given number 4 position in the cabinet in Punjab. I was surprised that he accepted it, but he accepted that. But he kept on grumbling And later on, he was a prime person responsible for breaking the Akali ministry. Excuse was that Barnala tolerated and went with the government for a second attack, Operation Black Thunder, on there. So on that issue, 3 MPs and 24 MLAs resigned from Akali Dal. I was one of them who resigned from Akali Dal, and we formed a group of our own. Along with Badr. Badr was happy to resign because he was a chief minister who was put at number 4 position. So that was the outcome of Operation Blue Star.